Hello, we are live with Search Warrant. Today is Wednesday, 15 July, 2026. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Highlands, retired special agent from the Naval Criminal Investigative Service, accompanied by my other host, Jake Jacobs, retired Philadelphia homicide detective. How you doing, Jake?
Hey, Greg.
Are you all getting some sun up there in Philadelphia?
Just a little. It's supposed to be 90 in the high 90s this week, so we're about to get a nice little scorcher going on.
I looked outside yesterday and there was a big orange ball of blazing light. I hadn't seen that thing in a couple days. I think we got about 7 inches of rain, and I have about a foot of grass to mow. So yeah, it's gonna be nice.
When the sun go down, I might knock a few paths out myself.
It's a good idea. Hey, we're honored today. We have a guest on our show. We're going to have Gary Parris, who's running for Sheriff of Buncombe County, North Carolina. I'm a little tongue-tied today. So it's an honor to have Gary on our show. But first, let me go ahead and play this opening video.
Hello, I'm Gary Parris, candidate for the office of Buncombe County Sheriff. My campaign is going to be focused on safe families, safe schools, and safe communities. How do we stay ahead of the threat environment? The bad guys are already winning, and the status quo is never good enough. Rather than remain stagnant, I will be decisive and outpace the bad actors through the implementation of 3 focus points: rule of law, climate and culture, and modernization. Enforce the rule of law for the safety and security of our residents. Focus on the development and improvement of the climate and culture of our sheriff's office. And embrace the current threat environment of 2026 and onward by evolving our own technologies, policies, and procedures to ensure the progress of our businesses and tourism in our county. We want folks to feel safe and come visit with us. As your sheriff, I will leverage my strong leadership abilities and background to work with all elected officials and municipalities to make us safer and deliver a sheriff's office and detention center recognized as being second to none. Through time, unity, and hard work, we will together change the direction of our county to become a safer and better place for everyone. I'm looking forward to meeting you as my campaign continues to move forward, and I'm asking for your vote and support as together we set sail on a new course for public safety. Thank you.
Welcome, Gary.
Hello, Greg. Jake, thanks for having me today. I greatly appreciate it.
Hey, Gary.
Yes, sir.
So I know Buncombe County as your county seat, Ashville. I come over your way a couple times a year. I like Asheville. I love the food. You can get all kinds of different food that I normally wouldn't get where I'm from. And I come over your way kind of to a different county, but I have to go through your way to get there to train with some of the guys from Blue Ridge Marksmanship. But let's just start out by, introducing yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, Gary Parris, I'm running for sheriff. I'm a candidate for sheriff here in Buncombe County. I am a native from Buncombe County. I grew up in the west end of the county. I played basketball at North Buncombe High School, graduated there in 75. I played at Montreat Anderson for 2 years. I worked at the sheriff's office from 81 to 83, embarked on a 22-year career in the Navy, cryptology, naval intelligence. Retired with 2 master's degrees. I did some teaching, did some defense work, and in 2022, I retired. I was a captain in a level 5 maximum prison in the state of Virginia. So broad base of experience there. We came home in 2022, my wife and I, and didn't recognize Buncombe County. We had visited when we could throughout the years, but when you actually get here and live here, there are noticeable changes. And we did some research and looking around. Never been an elected official and have never run for office, but I stepped forward to do this because we have a lot of challenges and we have a good plan on how we can make this a safer county for everyone.
Now, my understanding is you won the Republican primary in March.
That is correct. Yeah, we won that. We won it 3-1. We had a great turnout, and we were very proud for that. A lot of that was the ground game, but I've got a great committee. We've got a wonderful committee that's pulled together to help me do this. They're fantastic individuals, and they're vested in working to make this county safer and better for everyone too. So it really showed up in the primary. We picked up a lot of momentum. We continue to get that. So we're excited about where we are.
Well, so is I like you. I grew up in my little hometown in Pennsylvania, and we're part of Appalachia, and from the time that I left until the time that my career was coming to an end, I didn't recognize it as well. I chose not to go back there. I chose to came to Northeast Tennessee because it reminds me a lot of my hometown about 20 years ago. Why would you decide you would want to run for sheriff of your home county?
Well, it's for a love of people. Your sheriff should have a servant's heart. And in turn, you invest in your deputies, their families, and they in turn invest in the community. And it's a loss of the role of the traditional sheriff here in the county has been lost. The sheriff has three core functions. That's court security, the jail, and civil processing. And then, you've got the patrol and other things that were added on to that. And it's a huge county. It's 660 square miles. That's 7 municipalities in it. And right now, there's a lot of the rural parts of the county that have no patrol presence. So it's, after 2 terms, this administration, they are comfortable with being stagnant, and they've shown no interest in modernization and pulling things forward. So I stepped in because we should have the best sheriff's office here in Western North Carolina. We're the largest part in the region, and we should be taking the lead for things.
Definitely understand. You guys, so where I grew up, our sheriff was not a full service department. And I want to kind of pound that in there and get it out there in the open for our viewers, is that you are a full service sheriff's office.
That is correct.
And so you have Ashville, which is I would consider Asheville a pretty big town. I guess you would call it a city. And then you have some other big municipalities as well, besides Asheville in your county.
That's correct. If you look at the city of Asheville, there's approximately 95,000 people that live inside the city limits. And then the rural parts of the county, and you've got smaller municipalities, there's 185,000 people. So it's a huge county. And that's been part of the failure here with the leadership, with this sheriff. It's like you have small silos of excellence, but no one has really pulled any of it together to try to capture, resources, work together, train together, those kind of things. That's where I think we're going to make a lot of inroads.
And so your jail, the jail, the county seat is Asheville. Your jail, what's the size of the jail? What do you typically run?
I think it's around 400, something like that, a little over 400, 425. It's an older jail. It was built in 1996. They built an addition in 2007. And I think around 2017, from what we've been able to research and find out, they were going to appropriate money to build a new jail, which they needed. At that time, the county population was growing so much, and now it's up to around 275,000. And I think they're saying you can find places where they're predicting maybe 5, 6, 7 years from now, 300,000. So the facility, number one, is not really large enough because you service not only the highway patrol, but all the municipalities, and then, the sheriff's office itself.
Oh, definitely. I can't imagine. Well, one, my background is that I did 4 years in corrections. And I realized the difference between working in a prison and working in a county jail, where, typically you're talking about a year. Those in custody are there for about pre-trial and up to a year in jail, and then they're going to a state prison somewhere. What other types of things are you seeing now that you probably wouldn't have saw, when we were growing up in your jails?
Well, there's a lot of issues or challenges with folks that have mental illness. I think there were some closures of state facilities, and there's been a failure with this administration as far as maybe trying to move those folks into the system quicker, maybe leading to some jail overcrowding. There are the drug issues in there. We have the 9th deadliest jail in the state. They've had 8 jail deaths. You track those and look at them, and there were fentanyl overdoses inside the jail. And those hurt the county in so many ways. You have a loss of life, but you also have the possibility or probability of civil lawsuits if policies, procedures weren't followed. And I think in 2022 is when it really started to spiral. They had the county had paid out $2.2 million for just one jail death. And there was like 125% turnover in people working in the jail because it was an unsafe facility. So failure of leadership, failure of management and oversight and those kind of things. And it's come forward, and it's just not a good environment up there. And an interesting point you just made, people in the county facility detention center, pretrial, whatever, are much different than those in the state system. The state system, they've already been sentenced and, they're serving their time. But still, no matter what it is, even in a detention center, you have to have a safe, properly staffed, right policies and procedures, oversight and management from the sheriff to make it a safe facility. And that's a big thing that's missing here in the county.
Yeah, I would see that as crucial. Jake, do you have anything you wanna bring up so far?
Well, a couple of things. Hopefully, I'll be calling you sheriff in a few months. But a couple of things you mentioned is that you're growing rather quickly. You're at 275,000. You estimate to be at 300,000 or more. In 2017, you said you had monies targeted for a new jail, and you haven't got the new jail. You have the fentanyl deaths, which is a big thing that's going on right now. And one thing I've noticed about your county under the current administration is you guys are like top 10 with those fentanyl deaths. And that's a big thing for me with law enforcement, because we know where all that stuff is coming from. So is it a big problem in Buncombe County like I've read, and in Ashville like I've read, or is it something that an outsider like me is misconstruing?
No, it's a big problem. What this happened here, there were decisions made, and who knows, maybe at the time they were made, it was with the best of intentions, expecting good outcomes, but the outcomes have not been good for any of us. They made it a sanctuary city, which the sheriff is the only constitutionally elected official in the county, and he has jurisdiction over the entire county. So when they did that, it actually made the county like a sanctuary county. They don't enforce the law. They've been very loose with this. So now, I guess 81 to 83, when I was there, Ashville, Buncombe County was the primary corridor for cocaine. Now you've got all these big interstates that have opened up, 26, the 240 connectors. This is the primary corridor now for fentanyl, trafficking of women, children, and guns. So there's a lot of things at play and a lot of things at stake with this election. And for Asheville to go in a different direction and look better and actually be better and safer, those things are going to have to be addressed.
Well, the problem I have with that is all the things you just said. We know that all those things go hand in hand. We know that it went from cocaine to fentanyl and those type of things. But your current sheriff, with all those problems, those three, which is a big three, because other things come with that, said he's not going to cooperate with ICE. He wants to be a sanctuary city. And to also, and the way I look at it, because I look at that big thing called the Constitution, it says we the people. So right. And when you guys take that oath, you say you're going to uphold the laws of the Constitution, which says we the people. And when you say you're going to not work with ICE, you're going to allow illegals to come here and rape and traffic children and poison our kids with fentanyl, take away from that educational process that you talked about, because they got to go somewhere. If you got a sanctuary city, they're flooding our schools. So that's in violation of the Constitution. So to me, that's in violation of his oath. I don't know how you see it, Sheriff, future Sheriff.
Well, you have to uphold the law. You're right. You take an oath to uphold the state constitution and the Constitution of the United States. And I think one of the problems is Buncombe County has become such a politically charged place. And they asked me when I first filed around the Asheville Citizen-Times, what was one thing that I noticed the most after having been gone 40 years and coming back home? And I told them it was all the divisiveness in the politics. And if people are unhappy with the laws and things like that, they need to work that with the state legislatures and those folks and get the laws changed. And it should never fall back on a sheriff, or a sheriff be allowed to just pick and choose which laws are going to enforce to appease whatever group or whatever faction that you're talking about. It's just got to get back to enforcing the law and treating everybody fairly, humanely, consistently, fair treatment of everybody. And once we start doing that, we can then form the right partnerships to start addressing some of these things.
It seems pretty easy.
Yeah, we have a lot of track history covering some very similar places like Philadelphia with the district attorney Larry Krasner, and we also have covered some up in Rochester, New York as well. I would like to go ahead. So, one is that I have about 4 videos we'll play. I probably won't play them all in their entirety, but I took the liberty to go ahead and say, okay, what challenges is Gary going to face as a sheriff of Buncombe County? So I'm going to play these 4 videos, some of which we talked a little bit about already. But
okay.
Buncombe County ranks 5th in the state for the highest number of fentanyl deaths based on population. Today, News 13 learned the county has ranked in the top 10 for years.
The ranking is up from 9th last December.
News 13's Kimberly King joins us. Kim, you've been trying to drill down why Buncombe County remains on this list.
Holly, experts will point to factors like poverty as a risk factor. The medical examiner doesn't publish individual names, but each person who died has a family left to wonder what, if anything, could have been done. These are North Carolina counties with the 10 highest fentanyl death rates. Buncombe County ranks 5th. Medical experts say the deaths can tie to other drugs laced with it. Buncombe's behavioral health manager explains how fentanyl kills.
Everything kind of just slows down so that you're not getting enough oxygen to your brain.
In December, Buncombe ranked 9th on that list. The county's consistently been on the medical examiner's top 10 fentanyl death list for years. Is there any discussion about trying to drill down on who these individuals are and then going at it that way to see what more can this community, can these leaders do to get off this list of being on the top 10 for fentanyl overdose in Buncombe County?
We have not drilled down on that individual really level to get that specifics of who exactly. I think we do know in general terms of who are more at risk. We've got that 25 to 44-year-olds, males.
Potentially.
So I just thought after that video was one is that the lady had asked, what can you do to get off that list, and she really didn't have an answer for that. That's kind of shocking to me.
Well, she's talking to the wrong crowd, or she's talking to the wrong person. The sheriff should be leading that conversation. And I find it interesting that they bring it to a treatment, which folks that have or addictions or whatever, the treatment's part of it, but how to address it starts with enforcement of the law. You've got to start working on getting rid of the big drug dealers. You've got to start working on the things that have come in here in Buncombe County and set up shop that aren't good. And it's just, to me, is a clever way to try to kind of shift the focus. The sheriff is responsible for crime. The state constitution charges him with that, and he has jurisdiction over the entire county. So when they want to bore down to things, you shouldn't have to bore that far. It stops with him.
Well,
Awesome.
you hold press conferences saying you're not going to cooperate with other law enforcement agencies. That you're pretty much with a bullhorn telling the criminals who's passing through your town, a lot of them set up shop and set up anchor, that they're free to do whatever they want.
Right.
And that's not the job of a sheriff.
No, it's not. The job of the sheriff is to, safe families, safe communities, safe schools, safe worship. And that's working actively in the community and then actively working in the right way with your federal and state agencies to address these things. And in a county this large, there's no way you could do it by yourself. And that's a huge failure on their part. You have to pool resources, and it truly is a team effort, bringing all the municipalities together and then linking all that at your next level, state, regional, federal. That's the trick. Yes, sir.
I think you have your ear to the ground there. Most when you're low-level cops, patrol and things of that nature, low level, you always want to blame management, but it also messes up the morale. How is the morale and how is the hierarchy? What's the problems in that between the hierarchy and the ground level troops?
Well, it's hard to get a lot of transparency into that sheriff's office, and I think some of that maybe is done intentionally. I don't know. But if you look at the end result, what you have, the last numbers we were able to get, they're about 80 deputies short. And they don't have enough people to staff the detention center. And, you know, people don't leave good jobs, they leave bad leadership. And that's really what's happened here. If you, as a leader, understand your organization, people being your most important resource, you have to invest in them. You have to invest in their families. And then that in turn, like we talked about earlier, you empower them to work inside, you know, work in the community to make things safer. So yeah, the situation there is grim, and I'm not overstating that word. The thing I look at is every morning there are young men and women, what few are left in that sheriff's office, that try their best to patrol the 660 square mile county and work in a detention center to try to do the best they can. Any one of those individuals would die to protect you. So at the end of the day, they deserve so much better as far as leadership goes. And, you know, we talk about business. It is a business. The sheriff of this county no longer can just be someone that rode around in a patrol car and the next day lands in the big seat. You've got all the personnel resources that you're responsible for managing, a $38+ million budget approximately, which may not be enough. So there are a lot of things now to where the sheriff is more of a CEO type person. You got to be able to look at the board, understand your resources, and make the right moves with those to, you know, fulfill your mission of safety for everyone.
Let's go ahead and go through some of these other videos. This one.
A day after Asheville police confirm a 23-year-old woman found in a vacant public housing unit died from an apparent drug overdose, News 13 confirms more overdoses at the complex. Tonight, we're asking how many fatal drug overdoses have occurred in Asheville this year. News 13's Kimberly King joins us live from Asheville with the answer tonight. Kim, what can you tell us?
Shelley, 28 people so far have passed away from drug overdoses in Asheville city limits, and Buncombe County has a new ranking when it comes to.
So that video is from about 7 months ago, so I think that number's probably changed.
Western North Carolina deputies are conducting an internal investigation. They say a woman escaped from jail. Sheriff's office says it happened around 9:20 this morning at the detention facility. This is in Buncombe County. The inmate was taken into custody just minutes after she escaped. Jennifer Richards, arrested in November originally on several charges, now faces new ones that include escape. Western North Carolina.
A man the Buncombe County Sheriff's Office said was mistakenly released from the county jail was not mistakenly released after all.
That is the stunning reversal from the Sheriff's Office less than 24 hours after sounding a public alert. It is the third custody issue at the detention center in just 2 months. That brings us to tonight's accountability question. Is anyone being held responsible for these repeated errors?
News 13's Elijah Skipper is live outside the Buncombe County Detention Facility. And Elijah, what have you learned so far?
We learned today that an employee was fired as part of this most recent release mistake, and that staff members were disciplined as part of that October and November cases. Now, the Sheriff's Department says they're not going to share the full details of that quite yet, as it involves jail security.
In any jail, who should be inside and who can legally be released.
So I was wrong. This first two videos we played were about 3 weeks ago, and the last two were about 7 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what the thing I've noticed, it says when you got And I don't know what kind of news outlet you have there, if they're conservative or if they're anything like the mainstream, then they're leaning towards the sanctuary policies and things of that nature. But when you use words like repeated and most recent, that's a problem. When you're talking about prison escapes or jail escapes or fentanyl overdoses, how does these people stay in power or stay in control when you have those type of words being used?
Well, one of the things we did from the start with my campaign, and I'm going to stick to, the sheriff belongs to everybody. The sheriff's office works for everybody, and it should have never been allowed to be politicized. And if you look at George Washington, his last letter to Congress, his letter, part of it read to the effect that his greatest fear for the republic would be the formation of political parties, and then that one party would become the dominant party. And it would, you just can't govern that way, and people lose their voice. So what we've done with this, and it's the sheriff's office belongs to everyone, and public safety belongs to everyone, and the sheriff works for everyone, and it is resonating really well with folks. They see the challenges we have, and it's not all gloom and doom. I mean, there are some serious challenges, but me as the sheriff, we build the right team. We work across lines with our elected officials in the city and council, our city and county, and we come together and start driving things in a different direction. That's the exciting thing about this. And I don't look at the political part of it. I think about public safety for everybody. And, that's what it's supposed to be about. And that's where we're wanting to make the course change. We need it.
Well, that's what being an elected official. You're supposed to, you have your vote, people come together, bang their heads together. He might have a better idea than I have, and things that's something you might not look at, but you don't not listen to him because he's quote unquote on the other side of the aisle. Right.
Yeah. Or you don't refuse to work with certain agencies or whatever. And that's just, once you start down that path, it's not going to be good or isn't good for anyone. So myself being active with everyone, being active and helping, the sheriff sits in the best seat in the county to try to pull things together. And it's not all about enforcement of the law. There's the compassionate side to it. There's things like we saw the storm. And if you look at how the faith-based community, the churches, pastors, all that came together, that's what really helped get people through the storm. And there was some absences by this administration, and we're going to talk more about that as we get into September and October. But the sheriff is responsible for forming these relationships with people in the community, and he should be able to help plug in resources or point them in the right direction to get them. That's the humane side of it as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that was huge. For our viewers, Gary's talking about Hurricane Helene. And it just wreaked havoc over in Asheville with the damages over there. And I think it washed out part of your I-40.
Yeah, there was a lot of damage there. A lot of people. There are still people in some rural parts of the county that are still working to, recover from that. And it'll be an ongoing thing. But at the end of the day, your sheriff should be your friend. Your sheriff should be someone that you see a lot, that works with you a lot in the community, not just when something bad happens and you're trying to find him. So there's a lot of things that are missing, and it just comes down, I don't have anything personal against the incumbent. I've met him one time. He and I just have philosophical differences in how an organization should be run, managed, oversight, and treatment of people. That's where our differences lie.
How big of a play does the city of Asheville have on your county? So I didn't know prior to the show and preparing for the show. Of course, I learned quite a bit of things. Coming to the area from Asheville, I kept hearing about one certain housing area that is just kind of rampant with the fentanyl and there's a lot of deaths in there and homicides. Do you know the housing area that I'm referring to?
Yeah, I think they've had some recent things with their housing authority, and they're having some challenges there. And then again, that comes back with the sheriff and a failure on this administration. You've got to work with your municipalities. There has to be some mutual aid. There has to be some, pulling things together. And you work together then to find the solution. So that's, again, it goes back to being such a large county. And this administration has not done the job it should have been done. And I think that's where people now are realizing, look at all the things that we're talking about, our challenges, it's a failure in leadership.
I don't know, Gary. You spoke earlier. You named it seemed pretty simple to me. You named a couple of things. It seems easy, but first of all, it's honoring your state and federal constitutions and doing what's right by people, keeping them safe and healthy, being that public servant. Because when you go into law enforcement, you serve the public. When I was a young patrol officer, how I knew what was going on. People I was searching for homicides. It was homicide suspects. I would go there and sit in their house while they're barbecuing and talk to them. They think I'm crazy, but how else are you going to get the information unless you're in the community? And you don't always got to go in the community smacking somebody in the head or throwing handcuffs on them. You have to communicate. And it is pretty easy when you knock it down to as simple as forms. Instead of trying to make it complicated and say, hey, I'm not going to communicate with ICE because they're Republican. And I'm not going to communicate with the squad because they're Democrats. I'm not going to deal with you if you're a criminal. If you're a criminal, I'm going to lock you up. Hopefully that will change your attitude in life. Hopefully that consequence will help you see the error of your ways, so to speak.
Right. Well, it's an unfortunate thing, but it's a reality. People make bad choices sometimes, and they have to be arrested, and they have to go to jail, and they have to be, they have to be entered in the judicial system for, resolution. That's just the way a safe, lawful community looks. And, you hate for those things to happen, but it's reality. If people do things that they shouldn't do, they have to be held accountable. And when you stop doing that, then that changes the dynamics of so many things, and not for the good for any of us.
Right. When you keep letting them out, if they're in jail, and as a cop, we like to say, this guy's out of jail before I even finish my paperwork. He's right past before I get to my car. When you have people out of jail before you can finish your paperwork, so to speak.
That comes back to the sheriff too.
Yes.
That's a lack of transparency. One of the things I'm going to do is we're going to do our job. I'm going to empower my deputies. I'm going to ask them and let them do their job. If there's any heat for that, I, as the sheriff, I'll take that heat. I'll stand behind them 100%. And if we have those things going on, then it's my responsibility to provide that transparency to the community and let them really see what's going on or how that's transpiring. And I think, if you look at the long-term effect of that, those folks are elected officials too. So in the future, voters will get to make decisions on some of those people and the seats they're sitting in. It just comes back to enforcing the law, being transparent, and holding each other accountable for our actions and how we perform our jobs.
Yeah, a friend of mine, I wish he was still up here. He's actually a sheriff down in Volusia County, and he's extremely transparent. His name Mike Chitwood. I don't know if you ever met him or heard of him, but he's down in Florida, and that's what you got. You have to be transparent. Hey, guy, you did this. You brought fentanyl in my county. I'm locking you up. Don't bring fentanyl in my county again. And this is what's going to happen. He loves the camera too. So, Mike, if you watch Search Warrant, I'm not sure, but I haven't seen you in 20-something years, but
right. Well, there again, it's just being active on the ground, working with community leaders, working with elected officials, and doing your best to make it better for everybody. Right now, we're here in Buncombe County. Everybody's kind of divided, and that's not good. And we never want to be here. That's some of what we have, where you've just got one group thinking and doing. My job is to help facilitate getting us all right here. And then that's where the common ground can be found. We can have conversations and we can work together. And if we can't figure out a way to win, we just go take a break and come back and tackle it again.
Well, on that note, how is his campaign, your opponent's campaign, being ran? Is Is it a divisive part, or is he trying to unify the community also?
I don't know. I haven't come across him. We haven't heard anything from him. And I think that's interesting. I'd love to discuss in public with him. I'd welcome the opportunity for a public forum. If I were the sheriff for almost a decade and thought I'd done such a great job, I'd be wanting to tell you about it. So I don't know how that's going to play out or what that looks like. We would welcome the opportunity, though, to talk anywhere, anytime, and he'd be willing to do so.
That speaks volumes, don't you think?
Well, yeah, it kind of says a lot. I mean, folks I'm sure the voters are smart. They saw through a lot of things in the primary. They saw some of the things that happened there and probably what that was all about, and they didn't go for it. So I think we, across the county, we started a year and a half ago. We started from one end, we've been to the other end, and we just continue to circle down. And we hear from all parts of the community and people from both the other two political parties. They're ready for a change with leadership in the sheriff's office. And we're excited because, we have the broad base of experience and love to do this. And we can do so many good things here in Buncombe County. We can have all the things we talked about. We can work with our teachers and educators, safe schools, safe worship, safe families, safe communities. And I'm excited for that. I am.
Hey, I want to take the opportunity. So if our viewers want to look up parisforsafety.com, that's Gary's webpage. I want to take the opportunity. I want to share my screen here and bring up Gary's webpage. And so a couple things I'll point out is a lot of information that we've talked about. Gary's got some great videos on here and how to get involved in his campaign. He's got a donate button right there. So you can donate to his campaign. You can stay connected, and you can look at a bunch of videos here that Gary has. So take the opportunity to take a look at those. And I'm out. And here is, again, a link to that webpage. So I was kind of blown away by your background. You have an incredible background, and you have some great accolades over the years with some of your medals and awards. The fact that you were in Navy intelligence of me and also our, God rest his soul, John Snedden, the guy that founded the show. He would have loved to have talked to you about that had he been here. And the fact that you went into Virginia law enforcement, that is outstanding. What was the switch for you like? I know for myself, going from the Marine Corps into a civilian role, how did you find the transition with that?
Well, it's different. It's like when you first enter the military, you have hopefully good mentors, which I did. I worked for some great people, and I learned for so many things from them, and you find your rhythm and you just apply yourself and work hard, same as in the civilian community. And you talked about some of those accolades and things. I think the important thing is that I would say those are directly responsible too for the mentors and people that mentored me in my career and the people that I had the fortune working alongside and then leading. You never get anywhere by yourself. So I want to thank all of them as well. I had some great ones, and it made a difference.
I completely understand about that. I was very blessed to have had great mentors. John being one of those mentors, and now Jake's mentoring me into this podcast thing. So
not at all, John. When he said NCIS, knowing you and John, I would have probably been a little speck in the corner and let you guys just go at it, because I know you're being a little bit different, but I know how you NCIS guys is, especially if you like John Snedden. So
I had a great career. Only thing I had to do is make sure I minded my P's and Q's, so I never met these NCIS guys.
Well, back in the day, they didn't even talk about them. That darn show, when it came out, that did more, as far as I'm concerned, it did more harm than good.
Yeah,
but
see where you're going with that one. That's for sure.
Yeah,
that is true.
Well, so we cover. We one is I totally agree with you. I'm 100%. Jake has heard me talk about it that I'm not at all really happy with the whole party thing that we got going on, and I had just alluded to some conversations about what George Washington said about the parties, but unfortunately, we do have to talk about them. We had some PACs, political action committees that funded and skewed our elections horribly in places like my hometown and state of Pennsylvania. And Jake has been reporting for how many years now on what's going on in Philadelphia, where we have a district attorney that's refusing to prosecute homicides. And not only is he refusing to prosecute homicides that are just no brainers and leave people dumbfounded, but he's also letting convicted murderers out of jail before their sentence is complete without any type of hearings. And now we're so grateful that the federal government has stepped in and now he's under scrutiny. We cover a good bit of that. Jake, you want to talk a little bit more with Gary about that, what we're seeing with some of these cities and even states at the attorney general level?
Well, one thing, I'm always worried when we talk about these sanctuary cities and things of that nature, like Philadelphia and Rochester and those other places, and like your town in Buncombe, is you wonder if there's other ulterior motives. As Greg was alluding to, our district attorney in Philadelphia has been found to have been illegally letting out convicted murderers by presenting false evidence to the court. He called them exonerations, but lately the federal court and the Pennsylvania State Supreme Court say they're not exonerations. They're questionable at best. You concede it, and then once you force the court to grant a new trial, you chose not to have a new trial. You let the murderer out. In some instances, the murderer, they do, they go and commit another murder once they get out. And then the city pays them tens of millions of dollars because you conceded that law enforcement did something wrong. So that's where we're at here. And Greg talks about political action committees. Personally, I don't believe there should be any. I think I go back to that little Constitution thing again. I think the people should say, okay, I want Gary Parris to be the sheriff. So if someone wants to go to your page, now we're a little bit more technologically advanced. They don't hit the donate button and they give you $5, they give you $10. But it's the people who give you this money, not some outsider from Hungary or wherever who's funneling tens of millions of dollars into your place so you can let fentanyl pour into our country and destroy it. So that's where I'm at, and I'm hoping we can get more and I just told you about a good sheriff. In Philadelphia, we probably have the worst sheriff, probably even worse than yours, because she's aligned with that district attorney. She's in that divisive role most of the time, using race as the reason, and that's what happens. That's where that division starts. You get into the race. Hey, he don't like you because you're black, or he locks you up because you're black. He's walking the streets because he's white. No, this black sheriff is terrible. You just came back after 40 plus years to your town and didn't recognize it. I don't care if you were the sheriff and I'm coming to my home and it was a movie, Lean on Me, when the principal came back to the school and it's terrible and it used to be a good school. And I'm sure that's what you saw in Buncombe County. And all you want to do is get a broom, get a dustpan, and sweep up the place, mow the lawn, make it the place that you grew up at, and go from there. Not all these progressives and all these new forms of policing. When I talk to those murderers or robbers or whoever, it's a simple formula to me. And I used to always tell them that in interrogation. It's cops and robbers. My job is to get you when you commit a crime and put you in custody to keep the other lady out. It's simple like you made it earlier. These people want to sit back and make it divisive, and I think it's all for profit. That's why I brought up that 2017 jail thing with you. I don't know if it's a misappropriation of funds. I'm not sure if you do either, especially since you said that your colleague hasn't even talked to you to debate what happened, where something was voted on, but the money's never made it to building a new prison. So I don't know. And I think those answers that people of Buncombe County would like to know. Why don't we have a new prison? Why are we in the top 10 in fentanyl deaths every year? Why do we have this community over here that has all these murders and all these overdose deaths? Why have people repeatedly escaped from the prison? These questions that I think, if this guy, like you said, has done such a great job, I don't know him. I don't have any axe to grind with him. But over the last 10 years, if he did something correctly, I would say, Gary, you don't know what the heck you're talking about. Here's here, here's here, and here's here. I don't know if that's your stance, but that's my stance on from what I've, as an outsider looking at.
Yeah, it's simple. It really is. I mean, he has his record for the last 8 years, and there's a lot of things in the media. If folks just took the time, if you look at the evidence room, they've had problems with that. You look at the jail deaths, you look at the understaffing of personnel, lack of patrol presence. There's a whole plethora of things. And yeah, I mean, he's responsible. So having said all that, what I'm saying is there's a better way. We can be so much better. There's so many good things that we can do together. And that's just pulling the right people, right things together and going off in a different, much safer direction for the county.
And he's running against you. Hey, let me talk to Gary. Gary, what's your ideals? Because one of you guys going to win and one of you guys going to lose. Right. What's your better ideals, Gary? You know, what? I don't even know. I think his name is his name Miller?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Miller, do you need any help? Is there any advice I can give you? He's ducking you. You know, let him say that Gary Parris's ways won't work in Buncombe County. Let him say what his plans are.
Right.
For him just to sit back and just say, I'm going to hide behind a rock while people escape from prison and my community dies from fentanyl overdoses. That's not the way to be. And I'm sorry.
Well, I think that's when politics was at its best. It was public forums and public debates, debating of ideas, and then people for themselves deciding which idea they think is the best. And that's when things are the most healthiest. It really is. And hopefully we can get back to that. I mean, we've got to. There's no reason for divisiveness and other things. We can work together, and that all rests on the sheriff's shoulders. And, you know, the love, having a servant's heart and the love for people I have, we can get there. We just look forward to the opportunity to do so.
Do you guys have a mayor? How do you guys work as far as the government? Who's in control of that besides the government? I know you guys having a tough race in there as far as the national level of Carolina.
Yeah, there's a mayoral race that's going on. That'll be decided. And I think there are a couple of county commissioner seats. But at the end of the day, the sheriff is responsible for working with everyone, both the city and the county governments. And, you know, sometimes you can't really blame the county commissioners. I can't. Some of these things that have happened, if you're not proactive and you're not thinking down the road and you're not presenting these facts to the county commissioners to help them make decisions, I mean, you can't put it off all on them. It comes back to the sheriff. For public safety, that individual owns it. They're responsible for it. And, you know, they'll have their record for how they perform, just like he has.
It's like the 80 sheriffs you say you're short. Let's talk about that. Do we need more money? I might have to reach across for that.
Yeah. I was at a county briefing here not recently or where they briefed the county budget, and I think they bought 38 vehicles. And my question is, well, who's going to drive them? But again, you turn around and look, you can't really fault them. I mean, he has a responsibility with working the budget issues with them. And I'm sure, you know, you've got the schools and everybody else that are really, you know, trying to work for those dollars too. But it just, to me, it's a total lack of transparency and the inability or unwillingness to think ahead.
Wow. So we had a few comments here for you, Gary. One of our viewers wished you the best of luck. I'm trying to get it to show, but it's fighting me. There you go. And also, Kudos to Gary for stepping up to attempt to make a difference in your community. You could be just retiring, sit on the porch and live peacefully. We need more good men and women like you.
Well, that support means a lot. I appreciate it. I do. And there again, it's for the deputies, it's for their families, it's for the community. That's why I'm getting back in this, because I love Buncombe County. I love the people that live here, and we should be the best, and we can do that together.
So I want to draw attention again to your webpage, parisforsafety.com. Please, if you have time, take a look at his webpage. Also, you're very active on Instagram. I've seen some of your videos on Instagram.
We have Instagram. I think we're on X. We've got a great social media director, and he's done a fabulous job with that. And we look to start here pretty soon, the month of August. We're going to start turning the volume up, and it's going to get louder from there. And then we're going to go. We're going to be hitting the deck place running.
Outstanding. Outstanding. One is I want to say that it has been an honor to have you on our show. I thank you for your time. I know you're very busy. This is a very busy time for you. Jake, do you have anything you want to add?
Well, that porch comment makes me want to thank someone else, which is Mrs. Parris.
Yeah,
So,
Absolutely.
I know she's a big rock back there.
Absolutely. I couldn't do this without her. It's a big sacrifice. And she's very, we've been married almost 50 years now. A lot of people don't realize that.
Congratulations.
So we've got a great family, and she supported me 100% behind to do this, because she loves Buncombe County too. So I love her and thank her for that for sure.
We appreciate it too, and good luck, Gary. I think Buncombe County, from what I've seen as an outsider, I think it's time for a new direction. Let's just call it that.
Yes, sir. Course change. I agree, and that's what we're bringing to the table, and we're excited with it.
Oh,
Again, Gary, it's been an honor to have you on the show. Is there anything you want to end with?
Nope. Just please check our website out, parisforsafety.com. And we could use, if you live in Buncombe County, certainly ask for your vote and ask for any financial support. Hit that donor button. I don't have access to PAC dollars. We're just funded by the community and donors to help us do this here in the community. So God bless everybody. Jake, thank you for having me. And Gregory, thank you as well.
Thank you.
God bless you.
I look forward to having you on the show again if you'll come back on.
Yes, sir. Let's check back in after this thing heats up, and then we'll have some real issues and real good stuff we can talk about.
I can't wait for that show, and I can't wait for the show after the election day where we can call you Sheriff Parris.
Well, that's what we're praying and working hard for. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you,
Gary. Take care.
Jake. So let's start out the next part of the show, since we have actually, I think that's the first, it's not probably our second candidate that we've had on the show.
Yes.
We had, is it John Frankman?
Yes,
Is
we'll
that
probably have
right?
John on. And Sheriff Miller, if you want to come on, and as we say on Search Warrant, we let everybody speak. As Gary was saying, we like to hear all points of view. We try to be a little hard-hitting. We try to say some of the things that no one else likes to say, or touch on issues some people are a little afraid to touch on. But we'll love to hear your side of the things also. We asked my nemesis, not arch nemesis, but my nemesis on. We asked Larry Krasner to come on. We let anybody come on. Anybody wants to come on Search Warrant and give their point of view. It might conflict with mine. It might conflict with Greg's, but we'll let you speak your piece.
Definitely. And with that note, from here on out, the views expressed on all future conversations for the show are Jake's and mine, and it does have no impact. It should have no impact on our previous guest. So as we ease on into our national and local topics, so how do you want to proceed, Jake?
Well, we could. I think everyone, we got a big day on Friday, and next week hopefully we'll have on Ralph Cipriano, and I'm also going to reach out to John Fay, who's the father of baby Barbara Jean, who was raped and murdered by a convicted murderer in sexual assault or whatever you want to call him, who was let out by Krasner. But it's a big day on Friday in courtroom 14A at 6th and Market, the federal courthouse in Philadelphia, PA. If anybody wants to be there, because in my opinion, we talked about George Washington early on in the show. And if anybody was around in 1985, we had something called the move bombing, where, it was a helicopter, dropped some C4, blew up a house, burned up a couple of blocks. Well, with that being said, this is here you have a public official, the prosecutor, releasing convicted murderers at the cost of tens of millions of dollars to the taxpayers. And basically he got caught. And on Friday, July 17th at 1:30 p.m. in courtroom 14A, there's going to be a hearing. And I don't know how far Judge Diamond is going to dive into it. I don't know all of the topics, but what I think needs to happen, if anyone's available, show up. I know Ralph Cipriano is going to be there. I hope other people show up to show the support to the murder victims of Philadelphia, to the assault victims of Philadelphia, to people like the baby who was left to freeze to death. The reason I don't give her name is because she's still out there and she may not want the attention. So, but these are the type of people that have been unleashed back onto your streets by this guy. And he's been caught by Judge Goldberg. He's been caught by Judge Simmons, Judge Coyle, Justice Doherty, the PA Supreme Court, the Attorney General's office, and the likes. This is the biggest story in Philadelphia history since the move bombing, in my opinion. You can't release 100 plus convicted murderers and pay them 100 plus millions of dollars or at a cost and being the head prosecutor without some reputation. He needs to be in prison. And the reason search warrant and places like that exists is because, and big trial is because 6 ABC hasn't covered it, Fox Philly hasn't covered it, CBS hasn't covered it, NBC hasn't covered it, WHYY hasn't covered it. No one's covered the magnitude. And we talked to the Sheriff of Buncombe County. The reason stuff deteriorates is when your media don't inform the people about what's going on. And when you're dumb or ignorant to what's going on, slowly but surely, like water eroding, going down the mountain, that rock slowly erodes. Your values and everything else is eroding. Your communities erode. That's how fentanyl gets to kill a bunch of people. That's how you have illegal aliens raping and murdering your women. And people saying, oh, this person, this is a Maryland man, or this is that, or this is that. No. I'm like Sheriff Gary Parris. I don't care what side of me and Greg talked about this. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. I'm an American. I want what's best for America. Just like this U.S. citizen on the screen with me. I want what's best for America. And what's best for America is for, I don't care if the illegal immigrant is in a car or in a house. ICE, go get him. If he runs, that's what the shirt says. Comply, you don't die. If that person in Maine complied, he wouldn't be dead. The one didn't run, he wouldn't have got crashed by a tractor trailer. Just like if they wasn't driving with an illegal CDL, you wouldn't have people, families destroyed because they can't read your road signs. So comply with our laws. And we don't die and you don't die. If you're here illegally, leave. You don't have to worry about crashing. You don't have to worry about getting shot. You don't have to worry about any of those things. Leave. We still will let you leave. Get yourself together. Clean yourself up. Apply the right way. Come here. Learn our laws. Do the right thing. And everything will be fine. We'll welcome you. Come here to make America better. No problem. But most of you guys, greater than probably 50 million, you're not here to make our country better. You're here to leech. You're here to leech. You're here to take my tax dollars. You're here to take my daughter's sexual innocence, whatever. I want you out. and I want Sheriff Gary Parris to get you out. I want ICE to get you out. I want the FBI to get you out. If you come on my land, unfortunately, we just had a guy, Greg. I'm glad I just said that. If you come on my land, we just had a guy in Roxborough, Philadelphia. There's a transnational gang who, who's on DHS radar and everything. Well, one of their persons just got killed by a homeowner, an elderly homeowner, a retired firefighter. He wouldn't be dead right now. You know what picture 6 ABC showed? They showed that transnational gang like he's a doting father with his baby.
Yeah.
It's like the Michael Brown photo. You beating the shit out of Officer Wilson, but and Big Mike is doing whatever, but they show you with a graduation hat on, probably from when you was in 6th grade. You probably, whether you did high school, I don't really know.
Right.
So, I don't know
like a defense counsel would do for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The news media has taken over for the defense counsel and trying to say all the, how could this happen? This guy's such a nice guy,
Well, look at George Floyd. Look at all those statues of this guy who's pointing guns in pregnant women's stomachs while he's assaulting and robbing them.
Yeah.
Swallow, he's whatever. No, Freddie Gray. They making us the villain. They making law enforcement people who are trying to protect this community the villains, and they making the villains the saints.
Yeah.
And we have to stop allowing that. All I saw all week long on TV, every time I looked up, was these illegal aliens that you can't, even that, undocumented. No, they are illegal. They violated our laws. They're not undocumented. There was no documents. They didn't ask for any documentation. They didn't ask to come in so they could fill out this. They're undocumented because they choose to be undocumented. No, they're illegal. Stop playing with our language. Just because they don't speak it, that don't mean we don't understand it. So enough with the nonsense.
Yeah, I was prepared. I was actually, you brought up the subject of the illegals and I was actually kicking up a lot of videos and stuff, and I was going to do a little piece on Mayorkas, who was Secretary of Homeland Security and in charge of CBP and the border and all that, and I had got a hold of a lot of the videos of him testifying in Congress and how at the same time that he was testifying, thousands were coming across the borders, and the fact that Mayorkas was on the board of a religious organization that was actually involved, opened up an office in the Darien Gap, and was involved in bringing a lot of the illegals into the United States. Kind of seemed like a self-licking ice cream cone. And the fact that he's testifying to Congress and that he was impeached by Congress and nothing happened to him. There's no accountability of that.
There's a criminal organization. Greg, I got to share. I'll make them, when I haven't made one in a while. I'm sorry, guys. Soon we get myself together, I got to fight these people. Might need some help too. But anyway, who made all those Biden let us in shirts? We all saw them. What store did you go to and buy all those shirts when you were surging? And Biden says it, surge the border. That's a crime. You can't tell people to commit a crime. That's treason. We look at treason as being something like, oh, they did something with Pelosi and all that kind of stuff. No. If you do a crime against Mr. Jacobs here, and you come through there and someone's just there to let you commit a crime against Mr. Jacobs, then you're violating my rights as a U.S. citizen, and you're not allowed to do that for not one person. They don't say it needs to be 10 or 20 or 50 or 100 or 1,000. It's against the citizens of the United States. It doesn't quantify them with any type of number. So we got to stop this nonsense. We're thinking, they talk about the elections because when you talk about the SAVE Act all the time, and they go, well, it didn't really make a difference. What the hell do you mean one stolen vote don't make a difference? It should be 0 stolen votes.
Exactly.
So what American citizens vote got canceled out by that illegal aliens vote. Was it mine? Was it Greg's? And then you got people on the floor of the Senate saying it can't go on something that's 98% of the Americans want. They keep saying 80-20. No, it's 90. I haven't came across one, Greg. You can tell me if you came across someone who says this, that, and the other. You know,
I have not. No.
even the black people who they say are dumb and can't find a way to get an ID. Everyone I talk to say I don't have a problem. They show me the ID. so what's the deal here? Other than both sides. That's why I'm with Sheriff Parris again. I'm not for this left, right, Democrat, Republican nonsense anymore. Because if it's 98% of the people, that means it's Democrats and Republicans who want this bill passed, that we can't seem to even get a conversation. Like,
yeah, I think that's the major problem with what happened is that we become so bipolarized. They wanted us to become bipolarized. They wanted that, oh, that's a Democrat issue. Oh, that's a Republican issue. No, there's a lot of issues that we actually, it doesn't matter. It affects both the Democrats and the Republicans. And we both agree. And there's polls out there that say that both Democrats and Republicans want the SAVE Act passed. But the problem is that they painted into it that it's a Republican issue or a Democrat issue, and we can actually come together on some of these issues. We have some serious problems. I mean, one is that, the SAVE Act is in the Senate, and my understanding is it takes 60 votes. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we've had a serious issue this weekend. We've lost Lindsey Graham, and we don't know what the status of Mitch McConnell is still. We just yesterday, they brought up something that I was beating the drum on last week, the National Defense Authorization Act, the funding of our military, and in particular, section 224, and then it switched to section 219, and now it's actually section 1217. It didn't pass yesterday. I
saw that.
It was 50 to 46. 50 of those votes were all Republican in favor of passing it. And I would like to share my screen here real quick. At the top of those lists, the wanting it to go through was Marsha Blackburn. Marsha Blackburn is my senator. She's running for the governor of Tennessee. She's received $500,000 from pro-Israel PACs. I would also like to put out John Rose. He's received $53,000 from pro-Israeli PACs, and he's also running for governor of Tennessee as a Republican. But more importantly, back to Marsha Blackburn. She was one of the first on the list that I saw that was one of the 50 that was passing she was voting in favor of the NDAA.
Well, you got Tim Burchett on there. You want to keep going with Tennessee?
Yeah, Tennessee. Tim, I liked him a lot. It broke my heart when I saw that he was receiving AIPAC money as well. The problem that people don't understand is that when you drill down on this and then you actually bring up, if you actually take a look, a lot of us, we don't take time to actually go and take a look at the bill and actually read it, because some of them are so big. Like right here, section 219. If you take the time and you read it, this isn't good, folks. So basically what this says in a nutshell is that our technology, our top technology in the research development phase, the whole way through procurement, where we put it in the field and then sustainment, we're going to completely share all that stuff with Israel. Well, I showed you last week on the show that the Pentagon said that Israel's our friend, but they're spying on us, and it's a real issue. Well, if you write them into the stuff and they steal it from us, you can't really say they're spying on us, right? Because we made a law saying that we wrote them into our technology, plus the fact that after the Senate passes it, the president signs off on it, right?
So what happens if they ever become our enemy? Like, listen, I'm pro-Israel myself, but I'm pro the United States. That's what I'm pro. So anybody who's going to protect the United States, I'm pro. But Japan was our foe, and now they are friends. So what happens when you write a bill like you're saying? I'm not sure if this is to your point or not, but I'm assuming it is. What happens when they become your enemy? But now there's a law in the books that they get what you got, and who knows who's already here for those 10 years. You know, we have people who was former foes are now friends, and former friends who are now foes. So that's dangerous when you start writing other countries into your American laws, and that's when you have to really. That's why I'm against these PACs, and I'm against them whether it's something like Blackburn, Burchett, or Rose, and I'm against it when it comes down to someone like Krasner with Soros. You know, me personally, I think Soros' citizenship should be revoked, because what you're doing is you're committing the act, basically committing the act of war. Because Helen of Troy, that Trojan horse got inside there. That's what took him down. That's what we have going on here. You know, we're going to shoot down the missiles coming our way because we can see them coming. But you done infiltrated our country with socialists. I just saw a DSA person, Democratic Socialists of America, say they want to abolish the Senate now. You know, so when you start getting these monies from this PAC, I don't care if it's from APAC, ZPAC, or whoever PAC. If it's not my neighbor giving you $5 who's an American citizen, because that's the person that should be your constituent and the person you should care about the most, then it shouldn't be any money. It shouldn't take, what's that, $500,000 Marshall Blackburn got?
Yeah.
It shouldn't take $500,000 to run for Senate in Tennessee. It should be, here's what I did for the people of Tennessee. People of Tennessee, if you like me, can you give me $1? Can you give me $10? People of Tennessee. And if you like me more than the $10, can you show up on XYZ date, no mail-in ballots, I'm also against them, and vote for me. I shouldn't have to get something from another country. And then I shouldn't have to write into my law. And that's another thing about these bills that we talk about all the time. Why is it, and it's on both sides, why is it all these bills always get passed 2 seconds before they whatever? And you tell me you read 2,472 pages in 20 minutes. And you sign off on this bill and it becomes a law. You go in there and you vote. We know you didn't read it. It's how much you got in your hand.
Yes.
So we have to stop this way, but we talk about term limits. You can't go, you know, and I was for some of Lindsey Graham stuff and I was against Lindsey Graham stuff. And that's what American does. He was one of the poorest senators. He's been in Congress for 30, 40 years.
Yes.
His net worth is only like 1.4. You got Pelosi 400,000. You got Barack went from from handing out flyers to worth hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
How do you do that? It's these PACs. It's our tax dollars. It's money laundering. It's criminal activity. Our government has become a corrupt organization. It's a racketeering outfit. So you brought it up on the screen. It is bad.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to know, like, there was a story that came out, I read right before the show, that Hakeem Jeffries is now supposedly flipped and is supporting the Section 219 to be passed in the NDAA as it's written. But I wanted to confirm it before I actually talked about it. And I did find one article, but then of course it's one of those, it was a reputable news site, but I had to pay to actually read the article. So I didn't want to bring it up, but it's kind of hard not to. Another thing that was brought up in the news as far as Lindsey Graham goes is one is that, in South Carolina in his area, his predecessor was Strom Thurmond. And, Strom Thurmond I think they went back into the 40s. And then he left he passed away in like 2003, I believe, sometime around that time frame. And then Lindsey Graham was the actual one that picked up after him. And then we saw over the weekend that the FBI is involved in they're involved into some kind of investigation into his death, which shouldn't surprise me, but it did surprise me that they asked President Trump about it, and which is a ground ball answer. The fact that he's involved with negotiations with the Ukraine, and he's involved in Israel, and has access to a lot of I would say intelligence activities at his level, and I would assume, I'll actually stretch this. I don't usually assume, but he probably has a clearance, a very high clearance, being access to that. They would want to actually get his media devices and seize those, because you wouldn't want that to just get out to anybody. And the fact is that we attend autopsies for people that have those clearances, because you want to ensure that mitigate the fact that he wasn't murdered, or that it wasn't foul play of any form, that it was natural causes. That would have been a great answer, but that's not what the one President Trump gave. I don't know where he was coming from at the moment. He probably had other things on his mind. But I do want to play this one clip. I hope you don't mind a little bit.
As far as the autopsies, I would have been shocked if you didn't have a contingent of FBI people not at the autopsy.
Exactly.
Because I know I would have got a phone call if I was in, for something like that on a local level, obviously not on Graham's level, but you can't have him coming back from Ukraine.
Yes.
Drop dead suddenly, knowing, the history of poisons and things of that nature over there. And then that's why I think they came out with this autopsy result quick, because they knew the optics of him. Just you talk about his devices. What if he'd have dropped dead over in Ukraine?
Exactly.
So I would if no FBI was involved at that autopsy, it would have been highly skeptical. When someone gave me a canned statement, well, the family didn't want you there. Well, the family doesn't have that option at that point, because it'll be a search warrant, subpoena, whatever document I need. The family wouldn't see his body until I cleared it. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Greg. Play.
No, I'll say that for the end. You let me know. I have it's rather kind of a humorous video.
No. But I mean, what do you think? I mean, you did investigations.
Yeah.
I would almost, would have been a given. He gets off a plane, goes home, has a phone call. I don't know how long before or after we talked to, and then he drops dead. So, in my opinion, the FBI should have beat his body to the hospital or to the morgue.
Yeah, exactly. I completely concur with your train of thought there. And I think that kind of happened. We just didn't, we just don't know. My understanding is that the president had talked to him on the phone after he touched down in the U.S. and had planned on doing some kind of press conference on Sunday morning.
Well, they both were supposed to be on Meet the Press.
Yeah, exactly.
So, in my opinion, homicide would have had to been, they said, I've been on a lot of suspicious deaths that was nonsense. I can't imagine the one of the top people to your point on the intelligence committees dropping dead after coming back from a foreign country.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, I mean, we got a major thing going on in Philadelphia right now that no one's talking about, but from what I'm hearing is very let's use the word eerie. So for lack of a better word, I mean, I could see this becoming a made for TV movie or something. We got a guy with chemicals, and our deputy commissioner to me, didn't know how to do a press conference. He gave up way too much information. I would have never gave that information up. You would have never known it. And that's almost to Lindsey Graham's point also. I may know a lot of things during my investigation. I'm not going to share them to you. I used to tell families that all the time. You're not going to share them. So you don't share certain stuff. Like even if this hardening of the artery and all this other stuff did not occur, and it's something that may be being alleged or some of the conspiracy theories out there, if one of them hit home, we're not going to know. And I wouldn't tell you if I was on the inside. I'm just letting everybody know that now. It's not something that the government is going to share with you. If Lindsey Graham had a needle stuck on him right before he hit that plane, and it was time lapse, it was like one of them time lapse capsules or whatever, then you're not going to know. But somebody does know.
Yeah, it was interesting. Like, right after it came out, somebody had, posted a thing from the 1975 where the CIA so Congress had found out that the CIA had this gun that shot a frozen dart of poison, and that when it got inside you, of course, it kills you, but then it melts away and there's no evidence of it whatsoever or whatever. And I was like, the fact of the matter is that, a lot of us are getting old. A lot of these individuals that are in Congress are pretty damn old. And he's you get up in there, you're always, just one click away, right? One beat away,
Well, you got to look at it. See, like I said, he probably did have that. He's 71. We look at it old, but we look at it young because we compare him to like Chuck Grassley. But when we get up now that we're younger than 71, our bones creak a little bit. It crack a little bit. You worry sometimes you're younger than Lindsey Graham if you're going to make it or not. So everything's not a conspiracy theory, but to this point, there should be term limits.
For us, that we're wanting to see the SAVE Act passed, this is a major problem. They immediately. Now, I did take a good look at his sister filling in for him. She seems like a really good person. I don't know why you would have to select somebody's family to fill in for them. And I'll be honest with you, I don't ever want to have to vote for a Trump again. I never want to anybody with the last name Trump.
I can't wait for Barron Trump.
Anybody named Trump, Bush, Clinton, Obama. I don't want to see those names again.
You know what though? What happened is this. I actually said this was going to happen. Once I knew his sister was 10 years younger than him. There's a special election. I think they got to have it. I think it's about in August, so it's a little bit less than a month, and she's not going to run again. I think this was more symbolic. She's not going to be on any committees. She's going to have her name on the door as a Graham, basically finishing out Graham's term. Now, I don't think they would have did it if he would have died 2 years ago or 3 years ago, but the fact that he only has months and it's right after the primary, I think they just made it more of a symbolic thing, and that's why they did it quick, so you don't have a whole bunch of time for all the nonsense fighting. That's my opinion on it. But term limits is the way to go.
Definitely.
Look who swore in his sister. That's somebody damn near 90 years old.
Yeah.
He's 20 years older than Lindsey.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But speaking of, I know we're ready to get out of here. But so
one of our viewers brought up. One of our viewers brought up. I don't want to see those names. I agree with you. So we're lockstep there. What about Mitch McConnell? So
he was. I saw Mitch lifting weights and doing pull-ups, so he's okay.
Yes,
AI, but
I saw a great photo of him this morning with JFK and Abraham Lincoln and George Washington, and AI is great. So speaking of AI, here we go.
Hello, America. I wanted to take a moment to debunk some of the wild conspiracies I am hearing about my health condition. For starters, it's preposterous that they are using AI to make it seem like I am alive. Elaine and I are grateful for the outpouring of concern and well-wishing, but some have chosen this moment to make ill-conceived jokes. AI is never funny, so stop it. For starters, I came here because of a fall I had, and despite being bruised and banged up, my doctors say I am recovering nicely. My wife Elaine has been great, and no, she didn't flee to China. Every day she is here with me, right by my side. AI couldn't do that. She even sings to me, which I find really special.
Jolene, 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 I'm begging of you, please don't take my man.
I have been handling the physical therapy like a champ, so there is no reason to create made-up scenarios about me and AI.
You can do it, Mitch! 50 more!
No, there is not a Russian plot to take me out. Even my doctor will tell you that's a conspiracy theory. Today, I even had an old friend drop by.
Mitch, you got a few corns and bunions, which I could easily laser off. I got my tools in my van. Such nice feet.
Elaine even lets me watch some TV from time to time. Elaine, can you turn Beetlejuice on the TV again? You never know who is going to stop by.
Clear! Clear! Wake up, I need the votes!
So as you can plainly see, I am very much alive and well, and the Senate is still in the capable hands of the Republican Party.
I think we got the shot.
I really hate that sad loser, Mr. Newberger.
Who, me? If you...
There you go.
Oh, that was better than the ones I saw.
Oh, there was a bunch. I wish I could have got a lot of those on for the show this week, but it's to bring them over from like Instagram or one of those other platforms. It's kind of you're gonna have to teach me how to do that, Jake.
We'll definitely do that. Real quick before we go, it's funny that your Heart and Soul says she already took the documents to China. She was in China when he fell, and Lindsay was coming from Ukraine. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. It's not like that you want to plant seeds of conspiracy.
Listen, as I said on Search Warrant, we just say stuff.
Talk about the facts. It's a fact.
We give y'all food for thought. Lindsay came back from Ukraine, dropped dead. When Mitch fell, his wife was in China. These are facts. So do with them what you may. Luckily, that was the AI funny, but I thought I saw Mitch really doing those pull-ups. He looked like, what's that girl? Mary Lou Retton.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Well,
so let me ask you a question. So there's this betting site. What's the name of that betting site that everybody goes to? They even bet on bills being passed and all that.
Oh, I know you're talking about. I forgot the name of it. I'm not a bettor.
We'll have to look and see what the odds are of the SAVE Act getting passed.
Unless there's money in it for people and it's at the last second with a bunch of hidden pork, that's what's going to happen. We always get screwed, Let's just why do we have mail-in ballots? Mail-in ballots was supposed to be for COVID. COVID is gone unless you're in Larry Krasner's press conference where you still got to stand on those damn papers. I don't know if you ever seen his press conference, Greg.
I'm not sure that I have.
He when COVID started, he had little papers it looked like.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that. The
little he still has
papers on the floor.
Yeah, he still has those, and people got to stand on their paper. So he must love mail-in ballots. Why anyone would still be doing mail-in ballots is beyond me. Lindy Lou, I keep calling Lindy Lou, Heart and Soul said it. We need term limits We need finance. If you go in, we want your finance statement. You're making $200,000 a year as a congressperson, senator, whatever the case may be. If you're there for 4 years, you can't come out with more than $800,000. Then that's if you saved every penny. You don't get stock trades. You know this going in. You can't do stock trades. You can't do this. You can't do that. If you don't have the money going in to go into this blind trust, you don't get it once you get there and become rich.
Right.
So I don't know how people made less than me over 20 years and come out exponentially richer. It makes no sense. And we got to stop being suckers with these people because they plan us for fools on both sides, you know.
Now, I don't know the answer to this question, but and I when I saw it, I immediately didn't think that it was probably something good, but they're calling for a forum again to vote on that. I'm trying to think of the name. So if you want to talk about the Bill of Rights, any of the amendments, you have to have this forum called. Do you know what I'm referring to?
I do not, but
I'm having a senior moment, but there's a word for it. I'll do my research and I'll come back on it next week.
Yeah, we could bring it up, but the point, it's like what the sheriff said again. We're too divisive. You're never going to get the 2/3 majority to do anything. That's why you're now talking about totally destroying our country with 47 Supreme Court justices, abolishing the Senate, permanent mail-in ballots. None of this stuff makes any sense. This is communism. And once they, on the Republican side, Thune is trying to get FISA through, but don't want to get the SAVE Act through. If that's not a communist action on the Republican side, I don't know what is.
Exactly.
I don't want you spying on me when I don't have my right to vote against you spying on me with a legally elected representative.
Right.
My vote wasn't stolen.
Yeah.
If you're not doing for the citizens on the 98-2 issue that you call 80-20, if y'all call it 80-20, it's 98-2. And if all of my constituents or all of my representatives went to Congress on a 98-2 issue and we don't even hear about it, it's not, well, I'm not even going to bring it up. Who are you? You just another American citizen. John Thune, rest in peace, Lindsey Graham, Chuck Schumer. All you guys are just another. Your vote counts for the same amount as my vote.
Yeah.
So don't make yourself more important because we were stupid enough to elect you. I mean, don't get too big ahead. New Yorkers elected Mandami. So
exactly. Look how that's working for them.
Oh man, they stealing left and right there already. He's clearly a communist. So, what happened to your free food and your stores and your free subway rides and your free cabs and your free this and free that?
Exactly.
Oh, you can have it once we raise your taxes, raise your rent. You can have all that free stuff once you pay more for it. Okay, got you. So, Greg, I think we had a great show today. We wish Sheriff Gary Parris well. I don't know how you want to close it out.
I think you're doing a good job of it.
Mitch, get well soon. Lindsay, rest in peace. Hopefully, after Judge Diamond's court hearing, evidentiary hearing, everyone who just come in and joining us, courtroom 14A, 6th and Market, 1:30 p.m. on Friday, July 17. Watch Krasner's ADAs and supervisors squirm because as a law enforcement officer, I've never seen it before. So I think it's the biggest story in Philadelphia's history since the MOVE bombing. And none of our news networks are telling you. So I don't think any of you guys know about it. But we will be talking about it next week with Ralph Cipriano. And hopefully I can have baby Barbara Jean's father on. John next week. And Greg's going to tell us about that new thing coming up in Congress where they can screw us another way.
Exactly. Always a way to screw us.
It's never for us now, unfortunately.
So Friday, 17 July, Krasner's going to be towing the line.
Well, it won't be Krasner. It'll be six of his ADAs.
Okay.
I think two of them are supervisors. Four of them are supervisors. One of them is a person who the other supervisors say intentionally lied to release a convicted murderer. And the other one is her supervisor, who they say is the author of the lie that they tried to withdraw.
Is it going to be televised?
No.
No. Okay.
But
No.
I think it would be better than the Charlie Kirk hearing, because I think this is something very, very big in our jurisprudence throughout the country, that you have an elected official who's a prosecutor that's doing this, because if he's doing it, he wasn't the first. Someone else did it, and someone else came with this plan.
Exactly. And it'll set legal precedents.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, this definitely going to set legal precedent.
Yeah,
he already had one. He had one in the last one that he got caught. The judge forced him to apologize. He appealed it. It went to the Third Circuit. So they had to set legal precedent for his last one. That's how corrupt this guy is. And he's such a narcissist. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He's going to tell you on Monday how they just coming to get him. He's fighting for you. So we'll see.
That's outstanding. I look forward to next week's show.
Yes. And also we're going to bring Bill back, because we got to talk about this Iran war. Now, I think that's something to talk about next week also. Are we getting into a forever war? Why are we here? And we're going to get some different opinions from me and Greg and maybe other people that we can maybe get on the show in the second hour. Me and Greg will work on that, though.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
All right, guys.
Until next week, bye from Search Warrant.
Take care.
Midnight lights, Lincoln Financial feels alive. The crowd's on their feet, eagles flying high. From Campbell to Devon to Smith, they're making their stand. With every snap, the energy's electric.